Coming up on Global Business, back in the air, Air China resumes direct flights between Beijing and Washington with plans for more between Beijing and Los Angeles. OpenAI fallout, the AI giant engages in intense talks to reunite its employees as staff seek removal of the company's board following the shock ouster of former CEO Sam Altman. Snow and ice tourism continues to warm up this winter with encouraging policies attracting visitors. Hello and welcome to this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Guanxing in Beijing. And first up in the program, Chinese airlines have resumed a number of direct flights between Chinese and U.S. cities. And these include Air China's flight CA817 traveling from Beijing to Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, China Hainan Airlines and China Eastern Airlines are both planning to resume direct flights between the two sides. Yu Yang has more from the Beijing Capital International Airport.
A direct flight between China's capital city of Beijing and the capital city of the United States, Washington, D.C. resumes today right here at the Beijing Capital International Airport. As you can see right behind me, we can find the flight number is CA817, and it will operate twice a week with the return flag making a stopover at Los Angeles.
非常方便，要不然的话要。
I think the direct flight is very convenient. Before, it took me around 20 hours to travel from Beijing to Washington, D.C., and I need to make a stopover at other cities. Now, with the direct flight, it takes me only 13 to 14 hours to travel to Washington, D.C.
Since the easing of the COVID-19 pandemic, the resumption of flights between China and the United States has been closely monitored. According to the Civil Aviation Administration of China, during the 2023-2024 winter and spring flight season, the number of regular passenger flights between China and the United States is expected to increase from 48 per week to 70. This increase will provide greater convenience for personnel and facilitate economic and trade exchanges between the two countries. And Hainan Airlines, China Eastern Airlines, and other companies are also planning to resume direct flights between the two sides.
11月9号我们开始销售。
Hainan Airlines began selling tickets for the direct flight between Beijing and Boston, with the return leg including a stopover in Seattle starting on November 9th. Currently, over 3,500 tickets have been sold, averaging a daily sales volume of 500 tickets. We believe that as flights between China and the U.S. gradually resume, there's great potential for an increase in passenger volume.
However, some aviation experts suggest that the pace of recovery remains relatively slow. Even after the increase, the number of China-US flights will only represent about 20% of the volume compared to that of 2019.
海南航空呢，其实从2019年开始，我们其实是北美航线，我们总共有14条。
The main challenge hindering the further recovery of China-US flights at this stage lies in the progress of negotiations between the two sides regarding aviation rights. In 2019, Hainan Airlines operated up to 14 direct flight routes between China and the United States, maintaining an average weekly flight volume of over 40. We aim to expedite the resumption of flights between China and the U.S. while fostering bilateral people-to-people exchanges.
During his meeting with the U.S. President Joe Biden in San Francisco, China's President Xi Jinping urged China and the United States to jointly promote people-to-people exchanges. These efforts encompass increasing direct flights, advancing tourism cooperation, strengthening educational collaboration, and more. She said that encouraging greater interactions and communication between the two nations will help solidify the foundation for the healthy development of China-U.S. relations. Yu Yang, CGTN, Beijing.
China's Civil Aviation Administration is set to witness a significant increase in direct passenger flights between China and the U.S. The number of regular direct flights will surge from 48 to 70 per week during the winter 2023 to spring 2024 seasons. Domestic carriers are playing a crucial role in this expansion, with the popular routes like Beijing to San Francisco, Shanghai to San Francisco, and Guangzhou to San Francisco being reinstated. In December, airfares have noticeably dropped, with tickets from Guangzhou to San Francisco priced at around $600 and to Los Angeles at $700. The number of inbound and outbound airline bookings for China during the last 2 months surpassed 4.4 million, up 7.5 times from the same period last year. It is estimated that by the end of the new aviation season in March 2024, the volume of international passenger flights will reach about 70% of the levels observed in 2019. And China's southern province of Hainan has also been gradually reopening direct flights to Southeast Asian countries. The tropical island is actively establishing itself as a destination for international tourism consumption. And Liao Zhu reports.
Starting this year, Hainan has gradually reopening direct flights to Southeast Asian countries, including Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. And flights to Hong Kong and Macau have also seen an increase, and that can be seen as a sign of strengthening the connections between these countries and regions.
With the continuous opening of overseas flight routes, Hainan has experienced a booming cross-border tourism market, leading to increased business for travel agencies.
我们就设计了具有海南特色的，包含了海南的一些海洋文化。
We have incorporated characteristic elements into our tourism routes, including Hainan's marine culture, natural scenery, minority culture, and food. Our Malaysian tour groups were fully booked, and we also registered many tourists from Singapore and Thailand. These numbers have now surpassed those from the same period in 2019.
The
30-day visa-free policy enables us to go through all the procedures smoothly. I think traveling to Hainan is a good choice. It is very convenient.
The official resumption of international cruise routes has also brought an increasing number of overseas tourists to Hainan. On September 25th, Asia's luxury cruise brand Resorts World One carried more than 1,800 passengers docked at Sanya International Cruise Terminal. This marked the first international cruise ship welcomed by Sanya's port since the resumption of these routes.
The cruise offers tourists an additional choice when visiting Sanya. It also gives us greater development opportunities.
Hainan has organized a series of cultural and tourism exchange events in various countries and regions this year, encompassing performances, experiential activities, internet celebrity invitations, and field trips. These initiatives have attracted an increasing number of people to this tropical island.
During these exchange events, people increase their mutual understanding. They also boost confidence in tourism cooperation between Hainan and Southeast Asian countries, as well as China's Hong Kong and Macau. In addition, it also helps enhance Hainan's image as a tourism destination.
China and ASEAN member countries are important to each other as tourist destinations and source markets. Hainan, a key hub for China facing Southeast Asian markets, has actively hosted rich cultural and tourism events to foster economic and trade collaboration. The friendship between Hainan and ASEAN member countries has been amplified, and multilateral tourism mechanisms have also been strengthened.
充分利用59国免签政策带来的便利。
We make full use of the convenience brought about by the visa-free policy for 59 countries, ensuring increased convenience for tourists from Southeast Asian and China's Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. We aim to let more overseas tourists transit to Southeast Asia through Hainan, while enjoying the convenience brought about by the tourism in the whole region.
The integration of culture and tourism has become a link between Hainan and ASEAN member countries, promoting mutual exchanges as well as economic and social development. Liao Zhu, Sanxia Satellite TV in Hainan for CGTN.
And now we're heading for a short break. Still to come on the program. OpenAI fallout. The AI giant engages in intense talks to reunite its employees as staff seek removal of the company's board following the shock ouster of former CEO Sam Altman.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global business. Only on CGTN.
More than 700 out of the 770 OpenAI employees have written and signed an open letter urging the company's board to step down and reinstate Sam Altman. The letter, accompanied by a video, includes a threat of collective resignation if the board fails to meet their demands. OpenAI founder and former CEO Sam Altman was dismissed by the board last Friday due to a review indicating a lack of consistent candor in his communications with the board of directors. Following his abrupt departure, Altman was swiftly hired by Microsoft to lead a new AI research team. Notably, Microsoft is a significant investor in OpenAI, and CGTN's Mark New has the latest updates on this unfolding development.
It's been a whirlwind of drama over the past few days at OpenAI, the San Francisco nonprofit research organization that also has a for-profit subsidiary. It was only about a year ago that OpenAI introduced the world to ChatGPT, a generative AI chatbot that can answer questions, write speeches and papers, and much more with just a simple command prompt. CEO Sam Altman actually appeared at the Apex CEO Summit on Thursday, November 16th, where he talked about how generative AI will be the most transformative and beneficial technology humanity has yet invented. He gave no indication trouble was brewing. Then on Friday, OpenAI published a blog announcing Altman's dismissal. The blog said the board conducted a deliberative review process, which concluded Altman was not consistently candid in his communications with the board, and that the board no longer has confidence in his ability to continue to lead. Then on Saturday, the news site The Information reported that OpenAI's chief strategy officer wrote a memo to employees that things were optimistic that Altman would return to the company. But on Sunday, that all changed. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella announced he had hired Altman to lead a new advanced AI research team at Microsoft. Microsoft is a major financial backer of OpenAI. In fact, on November 6th, Nadella made a surprise appearance on stage with Altman at OpenAI's Developer Day. As for OpenAI, when Altman was dismissed, they made CTO Mira Murati the company's interim leader. But that has changed too, and now former Twitch CEO Emmett Shear has been named as OpenAI's new interim CEO. That means OpenAI has had its third CEO in 3 days. So many questions remain, like how will key backer Microsoft continue to work with OpenAI now that it's hired its former boss, who left in a very embarrassing fashion. Altman still has plenty of support within OpenAI, so how will those employees feel about working under the new administration? After all, many of those employees are considered some of the brightest minds in the generative AI field. Mark New, CGTN, Palo Alto, California.
The unexpected turn of events involving Altman's sudden removal from OpenAI has ignited a passionate discussion about the future of artificial intelligence, and numerous experts have voiced their opinions on this matter. Let's hear what they have to say.
Microsoft has become the player. So it's insane. Like Google was, Gemini was, their big play, their hope, because Bard hasn't done it. Gemini gets pushed back till January. The worst thing that could have possibly happened, because if Google right now had Gemini to come out and and it was good, like what it's supposed to be, they would be they're going crazy right now. But Microsoft is they're holding all the keys. They are the dominant player in AI by far.
But one of the good things that's going to happen out of this is organizations will realize they have to look at multiple models. They can't just put all their eggs in one basket. This idea that one model will rule them all is a completely wrong idea. Because for different use cases, for different situations, different models will be better. Innovation is happening very quickly. So if there is one benefit out of this craziness, is that people start thinking beyond a model and start thinking about, I will need the right model for the right job, and I need a flexible system that can do that. That would be a good thing out of this craziness.
Moving on to some other business headlines from around the world. India's retail inflation eased in October to a 4-month low of 4.87%, edging closer to the central bank's target of 4%. The country's finance ministry says a decline in international crude oil prices will help control India's inflationary pressures going forward. And Britain's borrowing during the first 7 months of the financial year has seen lower than predicted by budget forecasters. Experts suggest that this provides Chancellor Jeremy Hunt with some flexibility to potentially reduce taxes or increase spending in his autumn statement scheduled for Wednesday. Andrew Bailey, the governor of the Bank of England, has expressed optimism about inflation in Britain and said it was on track to reach the central bank's target of 2%. However, challenges such as a shortage of workers to fill vacancies pose a risk to future price growth. And now we're heading for another short break, still to come on Global Business. Snow and ice tourism continues to warm up this winter with encouraging policies attracting visitors.
.360-degree profiles of industry movers and shakers, tech mavericks, and policymakers. We drill down on their success. We ask how they set strategy and how they navigate in an increasingly competitive market. Real talk, real business. Join the conversation. Biz Talk, only on CGTN.
Buoyed by the remarkable expansion of ice and snow-themed tourism, several destinations in China are now proactively implementing favorable policies to attract more tourists. Besides the growth in visitor numbers, there has also been a surge in winter sports-related consumption, prompting more businesses to unveil new products and promotions. Take a look.
The skiing season has commenced across China. In recent days, snow has fallen in Chongli district of Zhangjiakou, and skiers across the country are flocking to the resort. A local ski resort saw more than 20,000 visitors in its first week of operation, a 5-year high, and nearly 1,200 hotel rooms at the resort were sold out this weekend.
Our total number of tourists for the whole winter is expected to surpass 600,000 based on the responses we have seen in the last few days.
Jilin, which has more than 70 ski resorts of different sizes, has announced a special subsidy of 10 million yuan for enhancing transportation facilities for ski lovers. In the Altai region of the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, several subsidies and policies have been launched, including free tickets to benefit tourists. According to statistics, since the start of the ski season this year, the cumulative number of skiers in the Altai region has crossed 76,000, resulting in a turnover of over 24 million yuan.
There's a hotel just right over there at the end of Ski One with good food and entertainment.
Meanwhile, with the construction of high-quality ski resorts across China, also in the southern parts of the country, local ice and snow tourism-related consumption has increased rapidly. A large ski resort in Suzhou has already attracted more than 12,000 visitors in just a month since its opening. Xu Yi, CGTN.
To understand more about the ice and snow tourism industry in China and its related consumption trends, we're joined by Dong Jun from Culture and Sports EI Asia. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Dong. So what factors are contributing to the significant growth of ice and snow tourism this year? How did this surge reflect the vitality of consumption in the tourism industry?
Well, Guanxin, we should be very happy for what we have heard so far. It's only the beginning of the season. Yes, it's the very first, you may argue, of the full winter season without any draconian COVID measures. But don't forget that if we include Beijing 2022 Olympics, Winter Olympics, it's already the third. I mean, including that one. And then the winter of 2022 and then 23, and we are in the third. I mean, this is a gradual process for the industry to finally pick up after the pandemic. And we should be aware that even before the pandemic, it was a fast growing industry or sport in China already. But finally, the businesses heavily invested in winter sports, especially skiing, are seeing hopes, and they have a lot of anticipations for this season. But don't forget that this is only the beginning. And normally the climax or the culmination of such enthusiasm will only be seen in January and February and maybe March, which would be the holiday season in China. And then after that, we'll be expecting the real data as a result of what we anticipate now. But of course, the entire industry has been anticipating this moment, and they have been very aggressive in marketing. And the consumers, repeat ones, and also first-time, very fresh experiencing people have been anticipating, waiting for this moment for a couple of years. And also, overseas skiing markets are yet to be fully reopened to Chinese travelers due to visa or flight issues. So this is supposed to be the right time for it to pick up.
Right. So considering the remarkable growth rate and the promising prospects, how can ice and snow tourism be leveraged to stimulate consumption recovery in the country? What role do you believe the government and the businesses should play in driving this recovery?
That's a very, very smart and critical question. How to leverage the two sectors, because we all know that the largely private industry or business of skiing and skating operation in China are very, very limited, and they are niche business focused. So they are short of the reach to professional tourism resources, and their various sites are relatively remote, and they are less accessible, and mostly surrounded by tourism facilities not belonging to their business. So the two sectors need to understand each other extremely well and know each role to play, so to achieve that the return, the greater that can be greater than if they do their own business respectively. 1 + 1 should be greater than 2. And what the government can do to help enhance the two sectors' communications, I think they should guarantee that resources outside of the two industries will be instantly available, like transportation and the ticketing and catering, and to make sure that these other sectors will not, raise their prices and costs to spoil this opportunity. But we don't expect the pocket of local governments to be indefinitely deep. The subsidies from the government can be realistically limited. We can't expect to be too much.
Well, thank you so much for your insights. That was Dong Jun from the Culture, Sports and EI Asia for us. Well, China will hold its first International Supply Chain Expo in Beijing next week. The host of the event, the China Council for the Promotion of International Trade, or the CCPIT, says the expo will focus on 5 major sectors, including smart vehicles, green agriculture, and clean energy. The expo aspires to promote the building of a stable, secure, and smooth global industrial and supply chain system through closer partnerships. And earlier, my colleague Zhen Junfo spoke to Yu Jianlong, Vice Chairman of the CCPIT, listening. The United Nations Environment Programme has emphasized the urgent need for all nations to expedite their efforts towards economy-wide low-carbon development transformations. In its recently released annual emissions gap report, it said current commitments under the Paris Agreement fall short, risking global warming of 2.5 to 2.9 Celsius. To effectively address this, the report calls for comprehensive global low-carbon transformations to achieve greenhouse gas emission reductions of 28% by 2030 for a 2 Celsius pathway and 42% for a 1.5 Celsius pathway. Furthermore, it emphasizes that countries with greater capacity and responsibility for emissions must take more ambitious actions while supporting developing nations in their pursuit of low-emission development growth. Inger Andersen, Executive Director of the UNEP, shared her insights on achieving the goals of the Paris Agreement and addressing climate change. Take a listen.
The longer we wait, the harder it's going to be. The world needs to lift the needle out of the groove of insufficient action and begin setting new records on cutting emissions, on green and just transition, and on climate finance.
Sustainable development is increasingly becoming a crucial focus for countries worldwide, resulting in a significant emphasis on green finance. The sector's significance was highlighted at China's recent Central Financial Work Conference and will figure prominently at the COP28 meetings. Our reporter Sun Shangyi spoke to academics and experts who attended a Green Finance Forum jointly organized by Renmin University of China and Singapore Management University to get their insights on the progress of the green finance sector in China.
As a rapidly burgeoning sector in China, green finance has spurred the construction of green projects and the development of green industries, aiding China's efforts to reach its dual carbon goals and expediting its transition toward a low-carbon, green, and sustainable economy.
China's green finance sector is actually quite mature and is already leading in terms of the in Asia and in fact even globally.
China has become one of the world's largest green bonds issuance market, as well as transition finance market. So from the government to private sector, there are already a lot of activities going on, a lot of policy frameworks being developed.
In recent years, China has successfully developed a multi-tiered and diverse green financial market, encompassing various financial instruments such as green loans and green bonds. By the end of the third quarter of this year, the outstanding green loans in both local and foreign currencies in China recorded a remarkable year-on-year increase of 36.8%, reaching 28.58 trillion yuan. There has been a notable increase in the involvement of foreign financial institutions in China's green finance market.
BNP Paribas, we've been active in China in general and in the green finance market in particular for many years. What we see recently is that with the leadership that China has in some of these sectors, as I mentioned, renewable energy, electric vehicles, other energy efficiency investments that are being made, we see great opportunities.
This reflects China's growing strength and influence in the sector. The green finance sector in China has witnessed rapid and exponential growth in recent years, with abundant opportunities for development, including foreign investment and the green cooperation associated with the Belt and Road Initiative. The sector is well positioned for even more promising growth in the future. Sun Shangyi, CGTN, Beijing.
And that will do for this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Guan Xing in Beijing. Thank you for being with us. The Hub with Wang Guan is coming up next. Stay tuned.
This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.